Avengers Endgame, the film that the MCU have been building up to for a whole 11 years and has 23 movies released in the span of that time, is finally here, and the hype surrounding it was absolutely worth it. Trying to get a screening of this movie was hilarious. My dad was going online to find tickets for Endgame in one of our closest theaters on a Saturday, and I shit you not, every goddamn theater was sold out. And it was not just on Saturday, it went to Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. It was ridiculous. But we eventually got our tickets for next Saturday, and thankfully we did not have to sit all the way in the front. I am the kind of guy who strongly prefers sitting way in the back of a theater so I could get the entire experience in one view without having to look up all the way or look from left to right constantly. I'm also that person that has a theater bathroom curse, as we call it. Every single movie I go to in the theaters, minus a very few amount of cases, even when I drink the tiniest of my soda, my bladder feels like it's about to explode. So, having that, along with sitting through a 3-hour movie that has no intermissions between it, was so out of the question. So, I literally bought nothing, and I was better off for it. But, trust me, after watching this movie, I certainly needed a drink. Not just because I was thirsty as hell, but because, man, this film was an absolute emotional roller coaster. So, I have a bunch of notes to go through, and much like my Venom review, while this might be more of a discussion video and not so much as a review, although it might just turn into that, I'm going to use the same format I used for that Marvel film by going through the pros, cons, and of course the highlights. So, let's get into it. Oh boy. Right off the bat, this movie punches you in the gut and shows what the tone is going to be. Hawkeye happily teaching his kids archery, or one of his kids. His wife and other children are having a picnic, and next thing you know, as he looks away, his entire family disappears. And because of this, he turns into Samurai Jack and goes on a killing spree. I don't know why I said Samurai Jack, it just popped into my head for some reason. I'm sure they will explain what he has been doing those past 5 years as the Ronin character he was in the comics, with the planned TV series they're giving to some of the new Avengers like Scarlet Witch, Vision, Loki, and Hawkeye. On that subject, why does it feel like they're pulling a Star Wars prequel on us? I mean, we have the main Avengers trilogy, or quadrilogy, and now we're getting prequel shows of the original Avengers that were merely side characters in the Infinity Saga, as they're now calling it. But yeah, going back to the intro, this pretty much tells you what kind of film this is going to be for at least the first hour. It has this empty, bleak, and almost Logan-like feeling surrounding it. Of course, it does have its humor that you expect in a Marvel movie, but like I said, the first hour of the movie keeps things rather straightforward. And why would it not be? We just got out of the events of Infinity War, and it wasn't even a month since it happened. There are some things about the first hour, though, that I kinda wish they would have shown more than what we saw in the theater. We don't really get to see how the world is affected by the snap, or how they're coping with it afterwards. Oh yeah, you see that in Infinity War's post-credits scene, but only for a brief moment. I hoped that they would show how most cities are doing due to the sudden dropped population around the entire world and how civilization is doing because of it. But we're entirely focused on the Avengers trying to cope with it. And while that is the idea, when they do show them out of the HQ and in public spaces, it's almost treated like it was yesterday's news. And I was really hoping that the first hour of the movie would be the Avengers trying to find Tony Stark as he's just flying aimlessly in space playing paper football with Nebula, which, by the way, I could not figure out what the name of that game was, so I literally googled finger paper game like I'm some uneducated Nimrod. And, of course, being minutes away from death because the food ran out and oxygen on the ship is slowly being used up. But it's only after like a little bit that he's rescued almost immediately by Miss barely appearing in this movie. I'll get to why I call her that later. So, yeah, I feel like they missed some opportunities there. But, hey, at least we got to see them kill Thanos after 20 minutes in the movie. The guy was literally doing nothing but cooking at his home, and they literally go full-on SWAT team on him, and they slash his freaking hand off. I mean, goddamn. I was hoping he would at least put up a fight or be prepared in secret, but in any case, they go to him and, oh shit, the stones are gone. So there's pretty much no way to get them back, because the stones have served their purpose. And just for that, Thor, after fucking up last time, goes for the head. And Jesus, you can actually see the head fly off. That's one step ahead. I'm sorry, that was not meant to be a pun. That's one step forward from that decapitation moment in the beginning of Doctor Strange. And then the 5-year time jump happens, and this is where we find out what the film actually is. So we find out that Steve Rogers is in therapy sessions on his spare time, basically giving people advice that it's usually best to move on. But then he goes to Black Widow, who just got done talking to Okoye, War Machine, and Captain Marvel in a Star Wars R2-D2 projection because it totally looks like that with the blue human holograms. And he goes in and basically tells her, you know, some people move on, but not us. Now, we pretty much established that a lot of the Avengers are doing their own things for 5 years. Steve is in therapy, Tony Stark has a kid of his own, which you know is a sign that someone is going to die if they have a kid that they really love. At least that's what my dad said. And of course, Black Widow, I guess, chilling out in the Avengers HQ, supporting that fucking stupid haircut. Okay, can I talk for a minute about this woman's constantly changing hairstyle? Like, for a good 11 years, everyone else in the Avengers looked the same aside from Thor, Hawkeye, and Steve in Infinity War. But this woman, in a span of 7 damn years, has went from having a bob cut to long perm hair to bleaching it blonde. She's like a freaking Grand Theft Auto online character, constantly changing her hair presets in every session she joins in. If I have to rate her hairstyles from worst to best in all of the movies, it would go something like this. Captain America, the Winter Soldier at number 7. This one we see in Endgame at number 6. Infinity War at number 5. Civil War at number 4. The First Avengers at number 3. Iron Man 2, ironically, at number 2. And Age of Ultron at number 1. I don't know. It's the shorter hair version of Black Widow that I like the most. But yeah, sorry for that mini rant. Let's get back into the movie itself. We also get to figure out where Ant-Man has been these years. Now, I unfortunately didn't get to see Ant-Man and the Wasp before this, but I do have a little bit of understanding of what happened at the end of it. So, Ant-Man apparently went to the quantum realm, and usually someone has to work the main controllers for him to get back. But, of course, the Wasp gets dusted away along with his friends from the events of Thanos, and Ant-Man is stuck there, and is only released when a rat steps on the buttons that releases him. So, he's been wandering around in that realm for 5 damn years, but apparently to him it felt like 5 hours. Damn. How bad must that be to get stuck in the quantum realm, then come out of it and realize 100 fucking years have passed, despite it feeling like you've only been there for 4 days? So, this is where the premise begins. Ant-Man goes to the Avengers HQ and he tells them about what the quantum realm is I can't talk today. Ant-Man goes to the quantum realm. Fuck! Antum fucking hell! God. What the fuck is wrong with me? You see, this is why I don't, go off script. This is why I never go off script in any of my videos, because my fucking brain just shits itself. I'm not deleting this. I'm keeping this all in. Alright. Let's do this again. Ant-Man goes to the Avengers HQ, and he tells them about what the quantum realm is capable of, and that time travel can be possible if they have the right tools. But, unfortunately, they don't know what the tools are for it to work. Now, we all pretty much expected the film to be sort of a time travel movie, but we didn't really know how they would do it. A lot of us, of course, thought that the Time Stone would help them out, but they need to defeat Thanos in order to get the stones back. But, as we established, the stones were destroyed after the snap, so cross that out of the list. Some say that Captain Marvel had the power to time travel, but that sounds like a really cheap-ass way for them to get everybody back by relying on this Deus Ex Machina character who has never used that power anywhere in her solo film, and, well, that would make her boring if she could just pull powers like that out of her ass. But, as I expected, that's not what happens. Alright, let's talk about Miss barely appearing in this movie and why I call her that. So, after Infinity War, we were told that after Phase 3, Captain Marvel would be the face of the MCU going forward, after Iron Man has seemingly been taking that spot ever since the first MCU movie. Now, I don't want to get into the whole controversy behind the Captain Marvel film or Brie Larson herself, I'm sorry. But let's just say people were not happy to hear that. Larson has really shown herself to be a major asshole in interviews, not just to a specific demographic, but to Marvel fans as well, and it is astounding at how much distaste the Avengers cast have shown when discussing Larson. When you watch the interviews of Endgame that includes Brie Larson, Chris Hemsworth, Don Cheadle, and Jeremy Renner, you can see that they really did not want to be in the same room with her. Jeremy was avoiding eye contact the entire time, while Larson was running her mouth about how she could do her own stunts and shit, and Chris Hemsworth pretty much shuts her down right away on that. So, she's already proven herself to be a pain even on set, and reportedly the Russo brothers, who directed this movie, did not want to include her either. But that would just render the post-credits scene in Infinity War meaningless, so they had to include her in some way. It has been rumored before Endgame was released that there would be different cuts of the movie that would be used for theaters. One was going to show Captain Marvel quite a bit, but the other would show much less of her. And I'm guessing they went with that cut because she is not in the whole movie. She appears in the beginning to get Tony Stark from the ship and guide him to where Thanos is. Then she appears at the end to destroy Thanos' fleets or ships, and that's it. She is only in about 15 minutes of this 3-hour-long film. It's crazy, and it almost makes me curious to see what other version is like with her being more prominent in the movie. And that's why I call her Miss barely appearing in this movie. This decision was made primarily because, as it turns out, Captain Marvel's box office numbers, despite it showing $1 billion, apparently that wasn't that big of a success as they thought, I suppose. And that is not a good sign when your supposed face of the MCU is not performing that greatly in the box office. Plus, when your solo film and actress is largely rejected by the entire community, it's not really a good idea to have her stick around and be that face, isn't it? And God forbid Disney lets this happen again. They already have gotten themselves into deep shit after The Last Jedi and Solo the Star Wars story, and their toy merchandise since has been dropping like a fucking car tire on a hill. So, they'll either have to course correct and make someone else the face of the MCU, or they'll find a new actress to play Captain Marvel and have the character still be the face, but to a lesser extent. Now, they have said that Captain Marvel 2 will once again be a prequel, and I'm guessing that'll be during the 5-year time jump we see in Endgame and what she has been doing with the Avengers since. Also, her hairstyle has now changed to the "May I speak to your manager" haircut. I mean, it's nice they made her hair more accurate to the comics, but I really just can't help but to make that comparison. So, after Stark rejects their offer to make a device for the quantum realm to try and get everyone back, they go to Banner, where he is now Professor Hulk. I don't know why, but just seeing Hulk like this is funny to me. He's such a freaking hipster with those glasses, clothes, and the way he speaks. Banner establishes that during the time jump, he and Hulk are now merged into one person. He keeps the style of the Hulk, but he can now communicate normally, and I think he got shorter. I don't really know, it's hard to find out. But he doesn't seem to be as strong as he used to be, cause there's no fight scenes with him. Oh yeah, he does fight in the last battle, but that's the only time, I think. He also seems to have built a celebrity status during the 5 years because some kids come to him, they ask for a picture, and he asks Ant-Man to help him take it. And of course, when Ant-Man tries to ask them if they would like to have a picture with him, they don't know who he is. And Ant-Man's just like, alright, take the goddamn phone. Poor Ant-Man. Like, Jesus. And then, when the kids go to leave and say bye to Hulk, he, I shit you not, dabs as they leave. He literally holds his arms up in the air and dabs. Oh my god, Marvel. Like, you just won't stop, will you? Hulk unfortunately tells them that time travel is not that simple and it doesn't work in the same way as other movies like Back to the Future made it out to be. So yeah, in Ant-Man's words, so Back to the Future was just a bunch of bullshit then. And then he goes on talking about quantum physics and stuff, and I couldn't help but to think at some point Neil Breen was going to pop up and have this full-on discussion about how he thinks quantum physics are. Like, he would go up to them and be like, quantum physics is where all the governments and corporate businesses try to take advantage of so that they can create more corruption around the world and cause environmental disasters and biased politicians and human trafficking. That's why I think I should be the one to take down Thanos, as I have wiped out the earth of its bad people in my movie Pass-Through. I will accomplish that. I will accomplish that. I swear to God, his movie Pass-Through is like a lighter version of Infinity War, where he is Thanos, but he is the hero of the movie. Alright. My dad pointed this out as we were leaving the theaters, and it's the concept of time travel and how confusing as hell it can get, because I was just as lost as he was when Hulk started talking about quantum physics. Usually, the rules of time travel is that if you change something from the past, it affects the future. Simple as that. But they decide to make it like if you change something from the past, it causes a breach of sorts where their present will remain, but the past will have to move to another future to not interfere with their present time. It's it's such a difficult thing to talk about when it comes to a movie like this, so I'll try to simplify it as much as I can. But luck as there may be, Tony Stark actually creates a device that can make them go back in time in the quantum realm. And his face when he finds the solution, priceless. So now they need to get the rest of the Avengers to help him out. Black Widow goes to get Hawkeye, Rocket and Nebula come in on their ship, blasting away Ant-Man's lunch. That's the real tragedy. Not everything that has been happening since Infinity War, but Ant-Man's taco gets blown away from the ship. And then Hulk gives him a new taco, that's nice. War Machine comes in and says, "What's up, tiny man? What an asshole." Now Rocket and Hulk need to get Thor. And holy shit, where do I begin with him? He is fat, hairy, drunk off his ass, and he's basically your early 2000s jobless husband. He's just sitting around in his house in the new islands they call New Asgard, where they apparently got survivors from the ship back in Infinity War, and Valkyrie and Korg are there. Holy shit. I was wondering where they went. Korg is pretty much hanging around at Thor's house on his PS4 playing fucking Fortnite. I'm not kidding. He's actually playing Fortnite in this movie. And I'm like, wait. So, Fortnite exists in the MCU. So, does that mean Thanos used to be a character in that game like he was in the real game? I can't tell you if that is it or not. That only the Russo brothers can tell me that. Or, Epic Games. But you know what this means? It means that Fortnite will still be relevant in the year 2023. That thought is more scarier than seeing a goddamn sons of bitching Marvel character playing Fortnite in a Marvel movie. Woo, Nally. I'm sweating right now. Now, people were really not a fan of how Thor was handled here, and yeah, I can understand not liking your favorite Marvel character being handled like this in a movie, but I get why they made him like this. This man lost his mother, lost his dad, lost his entire home, and everyone in that ship, minus a few survivors, lost Loki, and to top it all off, he feels like he caused a snap because he didn't go for Thanos' head. And it's for all of those reasons that he feels like there's nothing left for him to do. It's upsetting, and it's a very real situation. If you were to be in his shoes, you would be exactly like what he is in the movie. So they built a quantum realm in the HQ, they all go back in time, and this is when we get to the throwbacks. They go to New York City in 2012 where the Avengers took place, and they have to get the Space Stone in that Tesseract Loki carried throughout the movie. But not before Tony Stark starts making comments about Captain America's ass. Like, what the fuck? The Marvel Universe just likes to take the dumbest things imaginable and turn them into running gags. That is American ass, Tony. Cap goes into the elevator with all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who are actually Hydra agents like in Winter Soldier, who have the Mind Stone currently in Loki's scepter. But he says to them, "Hail Hydra," to trick them into thinking he's one of them, and they give him the scepter to bring it to Ant-Man so he could go back to the future and... fuck, that's another pun I made. Back to the present time and safely secure it. And I need someone to ask me this. Is this scene like a callback to one of the comic books back in like 2015 or something? Like, remember that incredibly controversial Captain America book where he said Hell Hydra to someone and he was revealed to be Hydra all this time? Is that them taking a jab at that, or is it just me? I really cannot tell. After Cap gets the scepter, he is confronted by his past self who thinks the future Cap is Loki in disguise because he is holding the scepter. And they get into a fight, but Cap does get the stone to Ant-Man. Now they gotta get the Tesseract, cause Thor's about to leave it to Asgard. So Ant-Man goes into past Tony Stark's heart to give him cardiac arrest to distract everybody, then future Tony, who's disguised in a SWAT team uniform, gets it. But unfortunately, past Hulk, knocks him out of the way and he drops it, and Loki goes and steals the Tesseract. And I'm guessing where Loki's going with it will be explained in his TV series. Maybe. Now they gotta find another time where they can get it, which is in 1970. Current Hulk sticks around in New York 2012 to find the Time Stone, and he finds the ancient one from Doctor Strange. Holy shit, I never expected them to bring her back in this movie, let alone at all. Of course, she refuses to give him the stone, and she explains that giving the stone away would cause branch realities, and they are far more catastrophic than the ones they are in. But Bruce tells her that Doctor Strange gave Thanos the stone in Infinity War, which makes her realize that Strange saw the one vision out of 14 million, where he gave him the stone, and that leads to them eventually winning at the end. So, she gives him the stone, but tells them to make sure they return the stones back to the very exact moment they took them in each timeline, so that the branch realities don't happen. Tony and Steve go to the 70s where the Tesseract is secured, and we get a glorious Stan Lee cameo. Rest in peace, buddy. And we see Tony interact with his father. I like that you see Tony really wants to tell Howard that he is his son, but they instead talk about what it's like to be a father, having to take care of their children and all that. It's a very sweet moment. And then Tony tells him, thank you for serving our country, and hugs him. Which is nice to him, but is awkward as hell to the dad, because he does not know he is his son. And to us, the audience, that's funny as hell. On Cap's side, he spots Peggy on the other side of the window, and this kind of inspires what is about to happen at the end of the movie. Now, I don't know how she didn't spot him just staring at her on the other side of the window like a total fucking weirdo, but in any case, they got the free stones and they go back. And what's funny about those free stones they got, and they even comment on it in the movie, is that 3 of the Infinity Stones are all in New York. So yeah, if they didn't fuck up on getting the Space Stone, they would have gotten them almost immediately. Now there are 3 more left, so Nebula, War Machine, Hawkeye, and Black Widow travel to Morag in 2014 to secure the Power Stone. Hawkeye and Black Widow make their way to get to the Soul Stone in Vormir, so Nebula gets the stone, War Machine bitch slaps Star-Lord for dancing like an idiot, goes back to the present with the stone, but oh shit, Nebula gets caught by Thanos and Gamora. And because of this, Thanos realizes what happened in the future, and that motivates him to get the Infinity Stones and wipe out half the universe yet again. Dude, imagine if he actually succeeded in wiping out half the universe the second time in the present. That would just be the worst. So, past Nebula swaps sides so that the Avengers believe she is the good one, then teleports back and brings Thanos to the present. Going back to Hawkeye and Black Widow, they get to Vormir where, like Infinity War, Red Skull tells them they must make a sacrifice in order to get the stone. And it's a good thing Hulk isn't there with them, otherwise that would have been awkward as hell to find out Black Widow was hitting on 2 different people. So, they have this back and forth on who will sacrifice themselves to get the stone in. Show hands, who thought Hawkeye was gonna jump? Like, it seemed like a no-brainer. He went on a supposedly 5-year killing spree to the distaste of Black Widow, and this was the way to redeem himself. and it seemed like he was going for it. But you wanna know something I thought about as this scene was playing? When Hawkeye tackles Widow to the ground, I thought he was going to drag her to the cliff and throw her off. Like it would have been a sudden betrayal, and he just kills her to get the stone. That's such a fucked up thing to think about, but I honestly thought that's what was going to happen. But instead, Black Widow stops him so that she jumps off the cliff. Hawkeye catches her as they are dangling off the cliff, and she jumps out of his grip, and she falls to her death. Black Widow died. What fucking bollocks. And I'm saying that because you finally, after 11 years, give her a solo film, and then you kill her off in Endgame. Now, I'm sure it's going to be a prequel. That's the only logical way they can have her films happen rather than bring her back to life. But you know that isn't going to happen, but still. Now, what confused me about her movie is that why does she get a solo film but everyone else gets a TV series? It seems to be a little bit off-putting that you're giving the Avengers, who never had their own films, a TV series like Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, Loki, etc. But Black Widow gets a feature film, and only her. That just seems very unbalanced. You know, as all things shouldn't be. But Hawkeye gets the Soul Stone and leaves, and we never see Black Widow again. God damn it, I was just starting to get into her character. The last stone is in Asgard in 2013, where Thor: The Dark World took place. Rocket and Thor had to extract the reality stone that is currently inside Thor's girlfriend. That sounded really dirty. Rocket goes in and extracts the stone from his girlfriend while trying not to be seen, but Thor gets distracted by his dead mother, and you know, his mom just talks to him and kind of lightens him up after what has happened in the last movie. You know, people really like to bitch on the supremely dumbed down Thor in this movie a lot, but this scene is like nice but sad at the same time, because he legitimately thought the entire thing was his fault, and he just let himself go for all those years. And to talk to his mother for one last time and get him motivated again, I think it's one of the movie's best scenes. Yeah, he's still pretty damn out of shape to get in the fights, but he's the god of Wonder. What difference is that gonna make? But then he realizes something. He lifts his hand up in the air, and oh shit, the Mjolnir comes to him. He has his hammer back and an axe. Hell yes. Now they got all the Infinity Stones and they get back home. Well, everyone except Black Widow. And then they make a new gauntlet for the Avengers to use and can also change in size, which is cool and convenient. There are some back and forth on who should snap their fingers to bring everybody back, because, as we found out by Thanos, snapping your fingers with all Infinity Stones, the power and gamma it contains is so strong that it can kill whoever possesses that gauntlet. The reason why Thanos survived and why he's got a Harvey Dent Two-Face thing going on his left face is because he could sustain it. And power like this can potentially even ruin your hand to the point of possible amputation. So, who puts on the glove? Hulk does. Because he contains gamma in his body too, which means he can sustain it more. So he puts on the glove, all the power courses through his body, and he snaps his fingers. And just like that, everybody comes back. Well, not exactly come back, they all don't spawn in the same room, but they are back. Hawkeye gets a phone call from his wife, so that means it was successful. But Hulk's arm gets pretty fucked up, and that nearly leads to him being incapable of fighting. So all's well ends well, right? Nope, because past Thanos comes in and destroys the place. I mean, he straight up Hiroshima's the entire base. Holy fuck. And they're all still alive. Don't ask me how, but they are. And this is when the final fight happens, or at least the first phase of the fight. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor go to take down Thanos while the rest have to make sure he doesn't get the gauntlet and start everything over. And one of the coolest moments in this movie, Thor gets his ass beaten, Thanos looks like he is about to stab him at any point, but the hammer rises up and knocks him out of the way. But Thor's not the one controlling it, it's Captain America. He is worthy of holding the hammer, and he just knocks Thanos' ass out like it's no one's business. I like that Thor even exchanged his hammer for the Stormbreaker, like he's saying, hey, take this hammer, you're clearly more worthy than I am. But they don't get far. Thanos seems to have apprehended, but when it looks like all hope is lost, everybody, I mean everybody, comes into the fight. Doctor Strange, Wong, Black Panther, the Wakanda Warriors, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, Drax, Star-Lord, Wasp, Groot, Bucky, and my boy Spider-Man comes back. And he's still got the Iron Spider. Fuck yes. Now, I took notice that when they came back from the exact locations where they have died. So, does that mean that whoever got dusted away on an airplane is going to come back in the air and just fall to their death? I don't know why I think of the most morbid things when watching these types of movies, but I do. There's just something amusing to me when it comes to thinking of situations like this and giving them such a grim twist. Now, I expected that when they used the stones, they would bring people back, but some would stay dead. Like, I was in the belief that people like Scarlet Witch, Falcon, and others would have been long gone. But to see literally everybody walk into the battle, it's overwhelming. It's seriously overwhelming. And this is when it starts. This is when the greatest final fight scene happens in any Marvel movie. It tops off Infinity War. It tops off the first Avengers. It even tops off Civil War. The fight between Thanos and his army against every Avenger you can think of happens here. And Captain America, after so many years of teasing, says to everyone, Avengers, assemble. And then absolute chaos happens. Everyone is fighting. Ant-Man punches the shit out of a spaceship. Scarlet Witch just throws everything at Thanos, saying, you took everything I had. Even though this is his past self and he doesn't know who the hell she is. Spider-Man activates his insta-kill and just rips shit all over the place. That was awesome. I've always wondered why Tony put insta-kill in his suit in the first place. I mean, at some point, Peter had to have told him his past, where he came from, and that he doesn't kill. So why would Tony still put it in his suit? The answer is because this, and it's awesome. So he swings away with the gauntlet and takes it to Ant-Man's truck, which somehow survived during the blast. I ain't explaining that, but Thanos' ship is just destroying everything. It seems like they can't get to him, but Miss barely appearing in this movie comes in and just demolishes the ship. Where has she been all this time? Fuck if I know, but she is pretty good in this scene, to be honest. I won't debate that. The part where she goes to Peter, who's just cradling the gauntlet in a fetal position, and he tells her, hey, I'm Peter Parker. And then she says, hey Peter, you got something for me? And just like that, every Rule 34 user lost their shit. And yes, there do exist artwork. I advise not to check them out. And then, all of a sudden, every female hero gets into that one specific area where Spider-Man is. I don't know if that's their mom instincts kicking it or not. And then they march to lead Captain Marvel to the van so that they can get rid of the gauntlets. What? Alright, that scene doesn't necessarily bother me as much as everyone else, but there was no reason for it to happen. One, again, how did they get there? It just seemed like they teleported, and I doubt they used the stones to do that. Second, why would they do it? They don't know each other. If I spawned in with every man in one singular room, my first instincts would be to say, "Who are you people?" Star-Lord and Gamora have a moment, even though this is past Gamora and she doesn't know who Star-Lord is yet. Kicks him in the balls, like you do, and continues fighting. But anyways, shit goes down. Thanos snatches the gauntlet, gets into a headbutt fight with Captain Marvel. She of course brushes it off, and then he takes the Power Stone out of the gauntlet and just punches her to another dimension. That's not what actually happens, but damn, he hit hard. It seems like they're all about to fail again. But Doctor Strange looks at Iron Man, gives him the finger, and... oh, shit. I meant to say, like... No, I meant he gives him the finger. Oh my god. Imagine instead of raising his index finger at Tony, he instead flipped him off. Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. But anyways, he lifts up his finger, which is basically him saying, "one chance." And he never tells Tony how to win, because if he told him what happened, it wouldn't happen. So Iron Man knows what to do. He gets to Thanos and tries to take the gauntlet. Thanos throws him off, says to him, "I am inevitable," and then... nothing happens. Then he looks at the gauntlet. All of the stones have been taken. And you see Tony, in one of his most badass moments in the entire MCU, raises his hand up, wearing his handmade gauntlet with all the stones placed in it, and says to Thanos, "And I am Iron Man." Snap. And all of his henchmen get dusted away. All of the ships, all of the aliens, Ebonima, or Squidward, as you would like to call him. And Thanos is just watching helplessly as everyone disappears around him. And after sitting down for a moment, he gets dusted away. Now he isn't feeling so good. They won! It's all over! Now, what's interesting is that when Tony snapped, he wasn't going to originally say anything. He was just gonna get the gauntlet and snap his fingers. But they decided to make a callback to the first ever MCU film, where in the end of Iron Man he says, "I am Iron Man." And I think that made it seem much more powerful than it originally was. But this is when it gets heartbreaking. As we know, snapping your fingers can be lethal when possessing all the Infinity Stones. So Tony is just dying. Peter comes to him, tells him that they have won, and he is just in tears. That's a nice opposite to what happened in Infinity War. Tony saw Spider-Man die next to him, now Spider-Man is seeing Tony die next to him. His wife Pepper comes in and says to him, "We're all gonna be okay. You can rest now." And that's the end of Iron Man. He's dead. Then you see his wife and his daughter watching a holographic message, and he says to them, "I love you 3000. They go out to release some flowers near the lake they live nearby as a memorial, and you just see this one take shot of the camera panning to every Avenger you see mourning the loss of Tony Stark. Steve is there, Hulk is there, Spider-Man is there, Nick Fury is there, Captain Marvel, even that kid from the last Iron Man movie is there. It's fucking sad, let me tell you that. But had he not given his life, they would have lost again. So everybody goes back to their places, like T'Challa goes back to Wakanda, Peter goes back to school and meets with Ned, and they're somehow still in high school despite it being 5 years later. I don't know how they missed that detail, but ever since my dad pointed it out, my mind is constantly baffled by it. And this is basically where the Avengers end. Iron Man's gone. Black Widow is dead. Hawkeye's retired. Hulk is not capable of fighting anymore because of the damages. Thor's now with the Guardians, and Valkyrie's the one leading New Asgard. And Captain America takes the stones back to where they took them, like the Ancient promised, but he doesn't come back from it. Instead, Falcon and Bucky find his older self sitting on a bench, and this kind of calls back to that scene where he was looking at Peggy in the window. He decided to stay in the past so that he could be with Peggy and live a normal life, and his old self gives Falcon the shield to be the new Captain America. Now, I see people ask why didn't he give Bucky the shield since he is much closer to him than Falcon, and I'm like, you mean the guy who terrorized many cities and was framed for bombing a press conference that killed T'Challa's dad? I have a feeling that the public reaction to Bucky donning his shield and being the new Captain America after all of that would be anything but positive. So it only makes sense for him to give Falcon the shield since, well, what bad has he done? Now, yes, there are some comics that make Bucky Captain America, but in the context of this movie, that would be a terrible idea. So yeah, the last shot is Steve slow dancing with Peggy, and that's the last of Chris Evans in the saga. And the movie ends. We see autograph signings of the Avengers cast, literally everyone from the series gets credited at the end, and there is no post-credit scene. Well, actually there is, but it's not anything noteworthy. So now we answer the biggest question. Where do we go from here? Because this seems like the end, and there will be no more MCU films. Now, that's obviously not true, but there has been said to be a hiatus where we probably won't see any MCU films for a while. But still, where do we go from here? Well, we have talked about the planned TV shows with Loki, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Hawkeye, etc. Films like Doctor Strange 2 and Black Panther 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the planned Black Widow movie, which is said to be released around 2020, will come out, obviously. We still have the new Spider-Man movie coming in a few months, and that film is like bringing up the idea of possible multiverses. Now, that sounds very risky, but who knows? Maybe it's not an actual thing and Mysterio in the movie is just bullshitting him. But I have a theory, and it's a long shot that it will actually happen, but I had this thought. So, Marvel and Sony's contract with the Spider-Man rights ends this year. And once that happens, Sony gets the rights to Spider-Man again. Do you think that they introduced the multiverse to possibly have Tom Holland's Spider-Man interact with Sony's planned villainverse with Tom Hardy's Venom and Morbius film to kind of excuse why Peter wouldn't be in the MCU until they decided to renew the contract? As fucking awesome as that sounds, and would have been a perfect way to introduce Sony's universe into the MCU, I don't think that's what's gonna happen. It just doesn't seem that likely unless that is what happens. And if it does, I'm gonna shit my pants until they're brown to the core. I think with the end of the Infinity Saga, this gives them an opportunity to introduce newer characters that we have never seen, like Adam Warlock, She-Hulk, Squirrel Girl, the X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, and possibly, and hopefully, the Netflix Marvel characters, because I really want them to be part of the MCU after their unfortunate cancellations of their respective series. Because Netflix is a bunch of fucktards. That's all to be figured out in the future. But right now, we have at this time hit the end of a saga. I would like to say thank you Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Tom Holland, Samuel L. Jackson, and pretty much everyone else for giving us one of the greatest cinematic universes of all time. I cannot wait to see what else you guys got in store for us, and just remain to be awesome. Let's hope you can reach even bigger levels with Phase 4 and Phase 5 and how many more phases you plan to make. I will be there. If I have the time, of course. So, I give Avengers Endgame a 9 out of 10. The reason why it misses out 1 point is because Ant-Man never crawled up Thanos' butt in this entire movie. Like, that Iron Man moment was awesome, but it would have been better if Ant-Man just shrunk down in size and went into the little purple sphincter, you know? You get what I'm saying? I'm bullshitting, obviously, but come on. I can't go for this entire video and not talk about that meme. It's almost a given to do that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed sitting through this long-ass video of me talking about Endgame, and I would love to know what you think of this film. Did you like it? Did you not? And what is your ranking of every MCU film that has came out from best to worst? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I love you 3000.